Today's edition of Mike Mayo's Lunchbox is brought to you by Casa D'Angelo, with locations in Fort Lauderdale, Boca Raton, and Aventura.
Hold the mayo. It's time for Mike Mayo's Lunchbox. Find out what's being served with Mike, Defo and Lubie, the only show that covers food, sports, and the proper maintenance of your car. And now, a man who had the distinction of having an entire health clinic named in his honor, Mike Mayo.
I want the flim flam sauce with the awesome fave with shafafa on the side.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Mike Mayo's Lunchbox. It is a rare home show. We are graced with the presence of one Jeff Defo DeForest, Mike Lubie Lubitz, as usual, on the production board. You'll notice I am standing today. And yes, Jeff Defo DeForest, I will yield for a question without yielding the floor. How are you today?
I'm good.
Well, you don't appreciate a good little, well, you know, I'm going to stand until tomorrow's show.
No, don't do that.
I was thinking actually this would be an idea, and maybe we should capitalize on it. But shouldn't somebody do a 24-hour sports podcast or broadcast of any type?
Well, the only thing I was thinking of,
Did you do a 24-hour lunchbox?
you know, there was the 24 hours of Le Mans auto race. I can't eat for 24 hours in a row now that I'm on the Gila Monster juice. But I think, you know, the only thing I was thinking as that marathon session was going on last night and wrapping up is I wanted him to close with "You'll Never Walk Alone," because that would have really, I think, brought down the house.
That's a long time to be talking.
Yeah, but, you know, he had breaks.
You know, I've been part of marathons where you're going to have hosts going on some kind of charity effort, and you had the whole station come in, and they took turns going for 24 hours. But 24 hours straight, one guy. Who was left in the audience at the end?
No, the whole Senate, all the Democrats were
A
in
lot
there.
of Dems were there. Yeah.
They weren't there in the middle of the
American
night.
People were supporting that too heavily. No.
Well, no, I think the Republicans were busy, I guess, approving the appointment of who knows what to who knows what department that they're going to dismantle as soon as they get confirmed. So that's all right. Enough of the politics. I'm sorry, but it was just kind of amazing because it brought me back to the days of the Jerry Lewis telethon. And I don't know about you, Defo, but when I was a kid growing up, and I didn't realize he did it till the year 2010, and Jerry Lewis was definitely in rough shape towards the end. But I remember in those early days, and he would bring out Dean Martin and Sammy Davis, and then, you know, and then at the end, he would sing and cry, "You'll Never Walk Alone," which always moved me. And I just watched it on YouTube again this morning, and I think Senator Booker should have closed with that. It would have really brought down the House as opposed to Chuck Schumer, kind of
The Lewis telethons were legendary. They were must-see TV.
Yeah, I mean, you never know who would pop up, and Ed McMahon and the drum roll and what the final tally
It got
was.
more disheveled as the thing went on too, which I really liked, and I maybe exceedingly more inebriated as the show went on.
Yeah, now Cory Booker was not drinking. Did somebody say it was like a Yom Kippur thing where he didn't drink anything and didn't
He
eat
said
anything?
he fasted. So I've watched on multiple interviews with him. He said he fasted leading into it, actually, so that he would get his body ready for it. And that's why he really didn't have to go to the bathroom, because that was his big fear.
Right.
But then he started cramping. So
He didn't use one of those golf clubs, you know, the sleeves. He put it into his leg or something like
Steve had that, actually.
Now he
started having pages running water like near the end, the last 5 hours, because he started cramping. And then
I couldn't imagine how you
life.
orate for that long without water, because I know I can't even get through
You can't sit either, right? Like he didn't sit. Like he had to stand for the 25. He stood up to 25 hours too, right? Like you can't be at the lectern and sit either. I don't think. Like I think
no, it reminded me of the home stretch on a Yom Kippur, service when you have to stand and it's like, oh my God, we're gonna stand for an hour and I'm starving and all I'm thinking about is that first piece of bagel with cream cheese and lox. So, I guess, it was a gesture, it was a stunt, but it got people talking and thinking. And, no matter what side of the divide you're on, I just think it's kind of, he wanted the symbolism because the previous record was held by Strom Thurmond, the 24-hour filibuster. filibustering against the passage of the Civil Rights Act, and that his effort was for naught because the Civil Rights Act ended up passing. But 50 years later, they're gradually unrolling all that. But anyway, that was that was a talker. It was a talking point yesterday, and I'm just impressed that the guy could go that long without food or drink while talking. Now, he did have, you said, it's impressive to be able to talk for that amount of time, but he did have assists. He was, taking these like little breaks while other senators asked him questions. And I guess it's what's the longest stint? Did you ever do a 24-hour Dolphins pregame show, Defo?
Seems like it. Believe me, if they could have figured out a way to make it work, they would have gone ahead and instituted one. A 4-hour Dolphin pregame show was the equivalent of 24 hours standing. Let's talk about the offensive line versus the Dallas defensive line. I tell you what, Joe Zagacki, this is really going to be a fascinating matchup.
Yeah,
and they would have to fill like an hour with that.
Oh,
now that wasn't easy, but yeah, once you get to yapping, it's okay. 24 hours though would be excessive. I one of the only people I think that could go 24 hours straight without taking a breath might be you, Mike Mayo.
I don't know if I could do it, but you know what? It reminded me of is my mom, God rest her soul. At one point, she had to get a brain operation. It was kind of a follow-up surgery for her treatments, and we were thinking it was the worst, that it might have been a return of cancer, and it might have been a tumor in her brain. It ended up being just scar tissue. But the month before she went for this surgery, she was on steroids, and this powerful steroid, because her brain was swelling and they wanted to reduce the swelling. Now, one of the side effects of the steroid was it made her batshit insane. It was crazy. She was
really?
She was at that point living in the in her own apartment in this assisted living facility in Hollywood, and I would stay with basically it was 40 degrees in the middle of January, and she went out onto the patio in the middle of the night, and she was just reciting her family's history on a constant loop for 24 hours. I mean, it was like watching a Cory Booker, except, she was talking about how her mother, basically was born and raised born in Hungary and then came to the United States in steerage of a cargo ship. And to meet her sister who had emigrated to the States and New York previously. And I got the whole family history, and some of them went back to Germany, and some of them got, basically killed in the Holocaust. But she was reciting every one of her relatives and cousins, and it's amazing what the human mind can do in the recesses, what's stored there, from memories, and what comes out when you're on powerful drugs. But that was like, it was something, because she kept going and talking. She talked herself hoarse. She lost her voice for 4 days, but she didn't, she was just in this state of like agitation and euphoria. But the bottom line was the surgery went well. She got off the steroids. She returned to her normal self, and she lived happily ever after for another 4 years. So that part was good.
Nice.
This edition of Mike Mayo's Family Memories brought to you by food wise. I don't know what's going on. We had a fantastic show yesterday down at Blue Collar. Is that a place that you've ever been to, and are you familiar with it at all? I know some of my racetrack friends have gone down there. Kate and Bradar and her husband Doug love the place, and I think she first turned me on to it. It's been open 13 years ago, and then I've gotten friendly with the chef, Danny Surfer, and we've become degenerate buddies. He's a poker player, and well, that was your first visit, right, Lubie?
Oh no! Look, Corbin used to come on our show every Friday before we would do Castronovo, and he would talk about it all the time because he was not only a big fan of it, but his wife's the one that does the key lime pie, and he would bring her key lime pie into the studio, and he would sing its praises, Blue Collar's praises the whole time. So it was really cool to get out there, and Danny's definitely an interesting guy, and his history is really cool to see him go to college to then say, you know what, screw it, I want to cook, and then go to cooking school down here, and then go up to New York, and then come back. And to see him have two different businesses be successful in the Miami area for over a decade is really impressive.
Yeah, and he's like you said, most chefs kind of black sheep of the family. They're not so good at school. They drop out before even going to college. But I didn't realize the fact that he actually went to a couple of colleges and got his degrees in poli sci and what was the other one? History. But then the way that he says he was able to utilize his college education in the restaurant business was kind of fascinating. It just helps him think and organize and clarify. And he says when he's looking up at the board and there's 25 tickets up, the whole dinner rush, and that his college days of picking and or just being able to organize and prioritize really comes into play. It was fascinating. I loved sitting down and talking with chefs because they are. They're just people. Well, it's kind of like musicians, and you love musicians, Defo, because they're both creatives, and but there's a discipline and a kind of a science to it all. So, yeah. What was your weekend like, Defo? Did you have any musical interludes, or did you see anybody or do anything exciting?
I actually discovered a new place that in a
Nice.
million years I would have never imagined would be like it was in Pompano Beach. And it's in a location that's right on Federal Highway, a little north of Brews Room, in this little strip mall that's undergone some changes. They kind of resurfaced the place and looks like a bunch of new businesses there. It's just south of Atlantic. And a friend of mine was having a birthday party there, so we were actually part of a big party. Your favorite thing, Mike Mayo.
Oh yes.
And I hadn't heard of the place. I guess it's been around for about a year.
Wait, this is on Federal in Pompano. It's not called May's Kitchen, is it?
No, but it's south of May's Kitchen. But I would be as unlikely to go in there as you would be to bring a party of 6 into May's Kitchen and expect to sit down and be served a meal with a white tablecloth and first class service like you used to get in Chinese restaurants. But it was called Revelry.
Oh yeah, I've heard of it. I've passed.
Revelry, and I have to say I thought it was. I saw it as a wine bar, but it doesn't say that on the marquee there anymore. It says something in potions.
Okay.
Okay. So they're mostly serving a tapas menu,
Right.
which wasn't really the feature. The feature was the drinks and the bar and the music and the setup. And I would never, like I said, in a million years, I would have never expected to see the kind of crowd I saw in there in terms of the demographic and type of people. This wasn't the usual Pompano Beach. No denigration because it's a working class city, and I've lived here a good portion of my life. Though I'm south of it now a little bit in Lauderdale by the Sea, but not the thing you would expect like at a brews room where the guys with a cut off shirt, baseball cap on backwards, and they're slugging down 6 Miller Lights while they're having a thing of wings. Different type of crowd. Among the sort of wine bar atmospheres that you would experience, I would say it was one of the nicest setups I've seen. And the food was okay. I don't know that there was anything overwhelmingly to get excited about, but fine. And the atmosphere and the setup with the band they had, absolutely incredible. So
Nice.
I tip my hat to the people at Revelry.
Yeah.
I would go back there anytime. And on Wednesdays, they had a phenomenal special working, which people should take advantage of, I believe. And a lot of people were raving about this. $5, Mike Mayo, for what looked like, kind of one of those, not necessarily designer burgers, but sort of an upscale burger. I believe it comes with fries and a beer for
$5.
$5.
That's
What?
a good deal. Yeah,
That's
that you
I
can't.
think that's all day Wednesday too. It's not just like a happy hour or a lunch thing.
That's
So
today.
Yeah.
Revelry, I want to give them a big thumbs up. I would go back there again.
How do they even do that?
Walking in there and never anticipated what it was going to look like on the inside. They had a band that was. I'm not usually inspired by bands that are driven by sort of electronic stuff they add in.
Ultra. You didn't go to Ultra then.
No, I didn't go to Ultra, but I mean, I understand it. Look, you can't have 10-piece bands all the time and pay them in a small place, but great choice and selection of music. They really kind of set a different kind of tone than you would normally experience in Pompano Beach, and really an excellent job. They've been open about a year, I understand, and
Yeah.
there was no surprise they were packed in there. Packed.
And I'm glad that you got in there. You beat me to it, and because it's one of those places
You would like it a lot.
I like this menu.
it's been on my list. I've been hearing about it from our friend Rachel Mizrahi, who is
Oh, well,
she does social media for a lot of different restaurants. She used to work with the Taco Craft gang and falsetto, but now she works with our friends at Grandpa. She also does some work with Danny Surfer, and I think she told me about Revelry when it first opened, and I don't know if she was doing some work for them or not. I've been meaning to get in there. It looks like one of those hip places that has a cool vibe, and so I'm glad that you got in there, and now it's going to spur me to get in there. I don't know about you. Well, no, nobody else does this.
I did want to say this though
Yeah.
about your story with your mom talking all day. But it came up because somebody asked me how you were doing. And I said, well, he's doing okay now. He's shooting Ozempic. He's not eating, like he was going to the chair every time we go somewhere. And seems to be losing weight. It seems to be helping him out. And he said, yeah, remember back in the day when your parents, like my mother was on this, she was taking the diet pill. Remember when that came out
Fen-Phen?
a long time ago?
Was it Fen-Phen or something else?
Whatever the hell it was called.
That's right.
But I mean, not only would it make you talk incessantly, which my mother, I mean, it wasn't like she didn't talk a lot, but she was sort of quiet and reserved. Lubie met her a couple of
Yeah,
times.
she would definitely.
She wasn't the type to be yapping all day.
Her dad was the talker.
All of a sudden, she's talking like she's some guy at the track that just wants to get his money and then vacuums the house like 12 times. I don't know what form of methamphetamine was.
It was just speed. I think they just
It was
use
straight up speed. They were.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not
And then that was the
Fen-Phen.
method of dieting back then. That was
Right.
the boost that you got.
I
And it was
tend to-
crazy because you knew it had to be doing serious damage to every organ in your body, including your heart.
Oh my God.
Yeah, no, it was back in the days where they would all get hopped up on these pills because it just totally suppresses appetite. I mean, they might as well just been doing freebasing 8 balls of cocaine.
Could have been snorting meth, literally. I mean, it was funny too because all of a sudden your mother was normally, in this case, mine was normally pretty sedate. Although she did things around the house, it wasn't like she was just sitting around eating bonbons and watching soap operas. But next thing you know, she's like vacuuming the ceiling. You're like, what the hell happened?
Well, that burns calories too, so I hope that it worked for the weight loss. It's funny, back in the day, we would go the opposite direction. We would take the Quaaludes, and instead of speeding up our target, we would
Stuff,
just
yeah.
melt into the couch. Remember Quaaludes? That was did they?
I wasn't a
did the
big
federal-
Quaalude guy. I experienced them a couple of times, but I wasn't big with that. I really was sort of anti-pill for most of my life. I don't even like taking the medications I'm on now, which unfortunately seem to be essential. Although I believe we should look into this because don't you want to just wean yourself off all medication after seeing what goes on in the world today? I mean, I'm talking about blood pressure, blood thinners, all of this stuff that people take. I want no part of any of it. I really don't. So there
That
have
might-
to be some natural remedies and things you could do from a dietary standpoint that would allow you to eliminate this. But it would be worth studying, and yet kind of too lazy to do it. And then you have to go ahead and make the move and make the conversion and hope that
Are
everything
you,
that's in your system doesn't collapse. So
are you angling to be RFK Jr.'s Undersecretary of Health and Human Services? That
No, but I don't
you
know.
want to make America healthy again? You want to get us off all the drugs, the
Probably does,
prescription
right?
Would
meds,
it be
the
good though?
pills?
There's probably a way to do it, although I don't know that RFK is really onto the system. But
Yeah,
if you're
well, no,
taking
you know,
blood
some of
pressure medication, there has to be some way to combat that without having to take the medication. No?
some of the things he says actually makes a certain degree of sense. Number one, our food system has gotten, I don't want to use the word polluted. I mean, it's become vastly more efficient. It feeds vastly more people, not just throughout the country, but throughout the world. Because you got to feed the world's population, people got to eat. The problem is with some of these modified GMO crops and some of these other things, and putting antibiotics in the feed, and nobody knows the ultimate, what it's doing to people. It seems like it has been changing in both people's endocrine systems, and also there's much more incidence of obesity and diabetes than there was even 40 or 50 years ago. And you can't say, oh, all of a sudden people are just eating a lot more or a lot more prosperous. Things have happened to the food supply, and it's this kind of endless loop where the stuff that has been kind of these processed foods that people have now been eating for the last 40, 50 years in America, they're efficient and easy, convenient, but they also induce like a loop where you feel hungry again quicker when you have these carbs and cereals and things like that.
It's
And
called
I know
Chinese
I'm
food. Oh, it's Chinese food does that.
Chinese food. No, I'm living proof because I kind of like it. I wanted to stop eating. I don't want to eat every 2 hours like I was at some point, but it was like it's kind of they call it metabolic syndrome, where it's the whole thing where your blood sugar levels and your carbs and all these things, you feel like you constantly have to eat, and it leads to all these other conditions, whether it be obesity or high blood pressure or high blood sugar and then diabetes. But not to get on a soapbox here, but everything comes down to moderation. And you got to say something has happened where all of a sudden all the people in a given country no longer have moderation. No, there must be something that's inducing them, and it's not just marketing and commercials. It's also something in the food itself. So, RFK Jr. has been talking about that and making the food supply maybe a little bit cleaner. Now, I don't know if I go all the way where you want to have raw milk and unpasteurized eggs or cheese, and his other thing is having beef tallow instead of some of these other oils.
So
Look,
have
olive
everything
oil. Yeah, I mean, beef tallow is still saturated fat, and you
Yes,
can have these debates, and it seems like nutritionists, research every 10 years totally flips, then contradicts from
yes,
what happened the previous 10 years. I try to take a common sense approach in that olive oil is the best thing because it's an oil that comes from a natural source, olives, and people in the Mediterranean region have been using it to cook and in their diets for hundreds, if not thousands of years, tend to be pretty healthy. So as opposed to using Crisco oil or even beef tallow or some of these, I guess people now are targeting these seed oils, grapeseed oil, or
supposedly
things
is
like that.
the worst.
I don't know what the answer is, but what I do know is this: yes, I'd love to be off all my meds, but in order to get this journey started, I have to get down to a certain weight. I have to get my numbers in the bloodstream down to certain levels, and then maybe I'll try to kick all the drugs and maintain discipline and not overeat and keep exercising. Again, it's basic common sense and science: calories in versus calories burned.
Yes,
And at the end of the day, if you consume more and don't exercise, you're going to blow up to look like I did back in December. And, and then if you try to do something a little different, hopefully I'll be on the right path. And you didn't hear about my latest weigh-in, Defo, because it was over, on Sunday, Monday. I do my weigh-ins before juicing for the week, and I hit my goal. I wanted to be by the end of March in the 220s. And I didn't do a Stu Finer weigh-in. Maybe I should start, but my latest weigh-in was 228.4. And again, my starting weight was in the 245, 246 region. So down about 17, 18 pounds, which is I
it's
think it's a
fine.
good start. I'm heading in the right direction. I feel better.
Yeah,
I've been, pretty religious about my exercise. And when I slipped a little yesterday because Danny Surfer, damn you, Danny. And he's also on Ozempic now, and he's lost like 40 pounds, and he wants to lose another 15. He looks good. He's a slight guy to begin with, but he was always, a little bit rotund. But he brought out the whole left side of the menu. And did you bring home those leftovers, Louis? Did you get to?
Yeah, we had what you had for dinner last night. It was freaking. He brought out like the whole goddamn menu. It was insane.
Yeah. And I didn't realize that, he does these pastas now. He had a pretty good, what was it, a lobster ravioli with shrimp?
Ravioli with shrimp on top of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So the man can cook, and he's very innovative. And I don't know, the Corbin sandwich, which is in tribute to Billy Corbin, who's a friend of his. I didn't realize that. What do you say? They went to school together.
Grew up close
Grew
with
up
his
together.
brother.
Yeah.
Close with his brother, and then became close with Corbin when he came back down here and did blue
Yeah.
collar.
But Billy Corbin, who his wife bakes the key lime pies, which are fantastic for blue collar. But basically, the Corbin sandwich is twin brisket sandwiches on these Portuguese muffins, and I love that Portuguese muffin bread. But
It's different.
But he has the dipping sauce, the au jus on the side, and he has, instead of French fries, potato latkes, 2 potato latkes with 2 twin brisket sandwiches. And I couldn't even have a bite of it because I was so full. I did take one little piece of brisket. It was good. So kudos to our man, Danny Surfer. Much continued success to him. All right, it's time for our first break. And well, I did 25 minutes, not 25 hours, but that's something. Let's talk about our friends at Casa D'Angelo. They have something exciting coming up later this month. besides, their usual impeccable service at their 3 locations for dinner nightly in Fort Lauderdale, Boca Raton, and Aventura, they are having a special wine dinners later this month. They love having these special events where they come up with menus to pair with the wines, and it's called Passing Time Winery. It's called Passing Time because it's the winery in Washington State, which is now a hotbed of vineyard activity, was founded by 2 Miami Dolphin quarterbacks by the names of Damon Huard, who's from Washington State, and Dan Marino is a partner investor. So Marino and Huard are going to be at the Aventura location of Casa D'Angelo on April 22nd, and then in Fort Lauderdale at the flagship, 1201 North Federal Highway in Fort Lauderdale, April 23rd. Again, 2 dinners, 2 nights. It's going to be a special time. Go on to the Casa D'Angelo website at casa-d-angelo.com and just look up events, and you'll be able to book your reservation now if you want to hobnob with the great Dan Marino. And Damon Huard, what was his record? Did he play much at all? I can't remember. Everything, I've put all my Dolphin memories into a black hole because it's just a morass of mediocrity that I remember. But what's your Damon Huard memories? Did he start at all, or what was his deal?
Oh, he did end up starting. In fact, that was part of a big debate when Jimmy Johnson decided he wanted to get rid of Marino. And he actually made the statement, we have a better chance to win with Damon Huard than the great Dan Marino. Now, what's interesting, you would figure maybe that might spark some animosity because you know that everybody's extremely competitive there. And the last thing you want to hear if you're Marino is that Damon Huard is a better quarterback than you are. But he wasn't terrible. He was a reasonably viable backup by any NFL standard. And he did start some games. I don't think he did anything spectacular, but the Dolphins weren't very good at that time. They were obviously in a period of decline, and they did bounce back. But Huard was okay. Yeah. Obviously a good guy, good enough to patch up whatever acrimony there was between himself and Marino and go ahead and make a fine wine together.
Well, that's the thing. Players, they don't take it out on each other when the coach is trying to pit 2 players. You 2 people are competing for one job, but I don't think they take it personally. And I'm glad to see that Marino has always been a wine, onophile, as the fancy French word, but he's been into fine wines for a long time. And I'm reading the origin story of this Passing Time Winery that Damon Huard first got into the whole appreciating wine by hanging out with Marino and going to his home out in Weston at the time and seeing his wine cellars and drinking some really good wine. And then when Damon Huard retired and got back to his home state of Washington, he was able to buy some land. And it really is a growing and really good wine region with, unfortunately, global warming. Things are heating up in the traditional areas of Sonoma and Napa Valley in California. It's almost too hot to produce some of the wines. And now the areas of Washington State and Oregon have better climate to produce more consistent wines. So I guess the question is, who makes a better Cabernet Sauvignon? Is it Huard or is it Marino's input? But I guess they're just partners on it. And they, I don't know much about it. Maybe I'll have to try to get Damon Huard on, or I don't know if Marino still talks to me, but we could try to maybe arrange a preview to find out more about that winery and the vineyard. I love good wines too, you know me, so it's going to be a fun time. CasaD'Angelo.com. All right, let's take our first break, and we'll come back and we'll talk more, but not for 25 hours on this edition of the Lunchbox.
Hey, Lunchbox fans, is it time to sell your business? You've poured your heart and soul into your restaurant or business, and you want to see continue the legacy you have built. Transworld can help. Call me, Andy Cagnetta, at Transworld Business Advisors right now and see if it's time for you to retire and relax. Iconic brands like the Mai Kai, Mulligans, Carlos and Pepe's, Mangoes, and many more turn to Transworld to help sell. Contact Transworld on Facebook or call 954-772-1122 or visit tworld.com. Again, that's 954-772-1122 or tworld.com.
When I'm looking for some wicked good food for a wicked good lunch, there's only one place to go. That's Wicked Cheesesteaks in Fort Lauderdale. It's at 4824 North Federal Highway, just south of Commercial Boulevard and across from Holy Cross Hospital. My friend Brian there, he will hook you up with some really tasty treats. They've got cheesesteaks just like the best you can find in Philly, along with lobster rolls, because that's where he's from, Maine originally. And they have wings and pizza and everything you want to have a really good time. Wicked Cheesesteaks. They're open every day but Tuesday. Check them out online, wickedcheesesteaks.com. Tell them the Lunchbox sent you. If you're looking for a great place for steaks, seafood, and more, go to Tropical Acres Steakhouse and Butcher Shop. It's at 2500 Griffin Road in Dania, just west of I-95 in the airport. They've been there a long time, since 1949. That means they're doing something right. You'll get old school hospitality from the Studiali family, along with great value, tremendous service. Of course, you could also go into the bar for happy hour every day, 4 to 6, and they have great value all night long. Also, a butcher shop that's open every day from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. except Sunday. The dining room is open every day at 4:30 except Sunday. Go to Tropical Acres. Tell them the Looking for great seafood that's a little further inland? Luke's Seafood and Grill. That's Luke's with a C. 5511 South University Drive in Davie. Luke and Roxy, they're a great couple with great food. It's a mom and pop shop bringing the freshest fish and seafood to Western Broward. Some of the best jambalaya and fish cakes around. And Scooby Dooby Doo, where are you? You can find his famous Scoobies, those sauteed crab claws, right there on the specials board most days. Oh, so good. So take a trip to University just north of Sterling today. Lunch, dinner closed on Mondays. Tell them Mike Mayo's Lunchbox sent you. When people come to me and say, Mike, where should I go out to eat? I got guests coming from out of town. Where should we go? Cafe Seville. That's the answer. 2768 East Oakland Park Boulevard. It's a Fort Lauderdale perennial, serving the finest in Spanish and continental cuisine in a cozy, friendly, comfortable setting. Joey Esposito and Sally, his better half, they've been running the place for a long time. It's been open since the 1980s. They got great Spanish classics like paella, shrimp with garlic sauce, and all kinds of great seafood dishes. The stuffed veal chop, oh, that's my favorite. Go to Cafe Seville. It's open every day but Sunday at 5 p.m. for dinner. Tell them that the Lunchbox Mayo and Defo sent you. Feel like getting away without leaving town? Then you got to check out the House on the River in Fort Lauderdale. It's a beautiful restored historic home with indoor and outdoor dining right on the New River. You'll think you're in Charleston or Savannah. It has a gorgeous patio, porches, and private dining areas, and it offers unique experiences perfect for a date night or fun times with friends and family. It has weekend brunches, happy hour, dinner Wednesday through Sunday. There's also a high tea on Friday and Saturdays, and the popular House of Veuve Champagne experience on weekends. The House on the River is in Fort Lauderdale's Himmershey district, just south of the Science Museum. For reservations and information, go to the House on the All right, we are back on the Lunchbox, and I love the chat line here because they do instant fact checking. Somebody was like saying neither Marino nor Eward won a Super Bowl. Incorrect. Damon Eward actually won 2 more Super Bowls than Dan Marino did, so it's 2-0. Damon Eward was on the New England Patriots. I guess he was a backup quarterback for the Patriots when they were collecting Super Bowl rings like M&Ms or something. But boy, that must. That's got to frost speaking of like rings and awards, it's one thing I didn't get into with Danny Surfer yesterday much, but it seems like there's a lot of anxiety in the South Florida chef restaurant community now, tingling with anticipation because the first Michelin guide that's going to be including Broward and Palm Beach counties is going to be published in a couple of months, but I guess those who are going to be included in the guide, it's going to be announced in a couple of weeks. It's going to be at a ceremony on April 17th up in Orlando, I think at the Four Seasons in Orlando. And so email invites have started going out. Now, what does it mean if you get an email invitation to this event where Michelin announces the star winners and also the Bib Gourmand winners? There's 2 different things in the guide. One is a actual Michelin star, which is the holy grail for restaurants. You could get either 1, 2, or 3 stars. There is no restaurant in the state of Florida so far, and it's been limited to just Miami, Orlando, and the Tampa area so far. There's only one restaurant that's gotten 2 stars. stars, and that's the Atelier de Joël Robuchon down in Miami. Is the only 2-star restaurant in the state of Florida so far. The rest are all 1 stars, no 3 stars in this state. But apparently, people that haven't gotten emails are a little jittery. I don't know if they're going out, but it's a nervous time, and I don't know if people just put too much stock into it. I don't know how much restaurant regular restaurant patrons pay attention to it, but there is definitely, I think, a food culture out there that they do go chasing, these stars and want to eat at all these restaurants that get recognized by Michelin. Lubie, does it mean anything to you? Would you necessarily go out of your way to start trying places that got Michelin
Yeah, it was funny. Shirley's big on it. Having done the show and just been in this area a long time and seen the kind of restaurants that are there. Again, like just in my area, Arun's Indian Kitchen has 1 table. There's no way they're ever doing stars with that place, and the quality of food at Arun's is as good as any high level place in the area, let alone in South Florida. So like the Michelin thing, I feel bad because people like Tim and to me deserve at least Bib Gourmands and stuff like that, and it feels like they're probably going to get left out of this round. But what I've also learned from these restaurateurs and chefs, like we were with Danny yesterday, he didn't even pay attention to it, right? So to me, I know it carries weight, and people like my wife love it, and the Instagram culture loves that stuff. I don't really care about it. Like most of the places we've gone to are fantastic and wouldn't even be in the conversation of it. So it's like, okay, how great could it be if we're going to all these great? And then you hear some of these places get stars, and then you've gone to some of them, and you're like, okay, like it doesn't automatically mean you are better than anyone else. A lot of the time, it's publicity / politics as much as it is quality, price, value, all those things. So it's cool to the places that get it. Good for them. Like I would never cast aspersions against them, but I hope the restaurants that don't get thought for it don't take it as a slight, because again, they're just walking into Broward this year. So I presume it's going to take them time to get to Broward and Palm Beach.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be intriguing to see, who, if any, they recognize. I've heard that, a handful of people from Broward and another handful from Palm Beach have gotten invites. And usually if you get an invite to this ceremony in Orlando, it means you're either getting a star or a Bib Gourmand. A Bib Gourmand is kind of like the second rung for places that are not as formal or maybe fancy, but still have good food at what is considered good value. I know places that I'd like to see get them. I mean, our friends at Timon at the Catherine, I think, is Bib Gourmand worthy. I think Reno at Heritage is Bib Gourmand worthy. I think there's some, Michelin star places. Evelyn's is one of my favorites down at the Four Seasons Hotel. I know the other one down below, Moss, gets a lot of positive attention. I've had a meal there. That seems to be the place that the Michelin inspectors love, because they have these long, fancy tasting menus and 12 courses and $295 and wine pairings. That's the kind of thing that seems to get recognized by Michelin, is the classic European French tasting menus. And now a lot of Japanese places are also getting awarded stars, because it's like the same concept, these fancy little bites and these omakase menus that sometimes run $400 per person. And that's not the way most people eat. So, like I have in my head, if somebody's coming to town that's never been in this area, I have my 10 places that I say, oh, go check it out. And, a lot of them are just everyday places that you can go in and feel totally comfortable. I mean, our good friend Joey Esposito, Cafe Seville, I never hesitate recommending to people coming in. That's never going to win a Michelin star or a James Beard Award, but they just do a good job with fresh fish and getting good products and good atmosphere and great hospitality. That to me is what a restaurant's all about. So like, I have my own list of saying, okay, these are the places that I love going to, and I will go back time and time again. And I don't care if if there's a Michelin star hanging in the window, or if there's a James Beard Award or whatever. And of course, I say that never having won a James Beard Award. Carlos Frias, he's won too.
That's known.
No, and it's the same thing in the newspaper business. We're coming up time to when the Pulitzers are announced. And look, I've been part of teams that won, a Pulitzer at the Sun Sentinel, the public service Pulitzer, which is considered the highest prize in journalism. But we wanted, basically for coverage of a horrific tragedy. And I wish I would give up ever saying the word Pulitzer Prize winner if that tragedy never happened. That's the weird part of the news business. You get rewarded sometimes for other people's tragedies and miseries. So it's a conflict in my own head. But, in the restaurant world, I just wish chefs wouldn't just go crazy over it. If you get it, fine. If you don't, just move on. And if you, again, pay attention to your register and
that's it, right? Like the guys and gals that have been around long enough will tell you, look, as long as registers chinging, like it is what it is. Like I look, again, awards are fantastic in radio. Like Defo and I used to make fun of it all the time. Like the people that would get noticed, and I won't ever name names because we have a radio legend, Eric Brandon, chit-chatting, and we loved his show. But we would never listen to 3 minutes of their shows. Like they would, the up and coming star. Oh, the new voice. Oh, this great voice. Yeah. We would talk to people in the community. We would listen ourselves, and we wouldn't give them 3 minutes. So it's like, and it's not even to discredit anyone, because that's one thing I've learned from Defo is much like the food industry. Like even if you're not the biggest fan of someone, it's okay to prop other people up, because you know what, they're in your same world, and we all go up together. The more attention on the industry, the better. But like, awards are so political in any realm that it's like there's nothing wrong with who wins, but I don't like the word loser in that realm, because like you could, if I could have the meal at both places, a lot of time I'd pick the place that quote unquote lost. So to me, I don't think anyone's a loser in the world. I just like that the star's down here. To me, I'd rather take that angle of, okay, it's finally they're checking out Broward, finally they're checking out Palm Beach, finally they're checking out Miami, because Florida has a lot of great food establishments that were getting ignored for so long.
Right. And next year, the guide is going statewide. Like any restaurant in the state of Florida will be eligible, and will have supposedly inspectors coming through to assess them. Obviously, I don't know how they go about picking which places to check out. I guess like anything else, they just see traditional media, social media, seeing which places get the buzz, talking to people in the industry and who's doing things right. All I want is that at least there's some recognition of places throughout. Miami has already had their moments, because they have been in the guide for the last few years, and it seems to be a growing number of places in Miami that are getting included and getting stars and bib gourmands. And then they also have what's known as recommended restaurants, notable restaurants. That's where they put places like Joe's Stone Crab. In my mind, Joe's Stone Crab should get a star because it's distinct, it's unique. It's like the only place of its kind in the world that has centered around one particular item, the Florida stone crab, and has made an empire out of it. So I think that's worthy, and as a food item, I think it's pretty darn tasty too. So but we'll see what they do, and I'm rooting for all our friends in the industry, and I just hope that some people do get recognized, and if some people get snubbed, well, there's always next year, and you keep going forward. That's the whole bottom line. All right, let's take our second break, and today is we might as well talk about Batch New Southern Kitchen and Tap too, because we love our friends Brandon and Kevin, and they are doing things the right way there. They are open in 3 locations, all 7 days at West Palm Beach, Clematis, which has gotten some love on the Let's Eat group lately. And then, of course, Delray Beach, which is recently transformed to the Southern Kitchen. It was about 6 months ago, and they're doing gangbusters business there. And then, of course, downtown Fort Lauderdale, where we are usually doing our shows once a month. And that's at 525 North Federal Highway. They got free parking in the side street lot there. And a lot of good stuff coming up with they get into the Kentucky Derby. That is Kevin's thing. They have a big Derby party, and that's I can't believe it. So about a month away. First Saturday in May is going to be May 3rd. It's right around the corner. So that'll be a good place to hang out for your Derby party. Batch New Southern Kitchen. Go in there, tell them the Lunchbox sent you. All right, let's take break number 2, and we'll be back with more on the Lunchbox after these words. For the finest poultry and the freshest fish, Delaware Chicken Farm and Seafood Market, located at 4191 North State Road 7 in Hollywood, open 7 days. Since 1951, a South Florida tradition for stone crab in season, Thanksgiving turkeys, holiday feasts, and everyday eating. Great steaks, house-made sausage, and prepared foods, too. Delaware is not just a market, it's a celebration of taste, quality, and old-fashioned customer service with a smile. Sign up for their weekly email flyer at DelawareChicken.com and tell them Mike Mayo and the Lunchbox sent you. When the Brooklyn boy in me wants a great bagel with lox, matzo ball soup, deli sandwich, and rugelach, you know where I go? Grandpa's Restaurant in Dania Beach. It's a South Florida institution since 1957 that was revamped a few years back by a pair of New York bagel baking legends. Full deli and appetizing case with spreads, salads, and platters for takeout and catering. Grandpa's is near Federal Highway just north of Sterling Road, open 7 days for breakfast and lunch. Go eat and enjoy. It's Mike Mayo's Lunchbox approved. For the finest and authentic Greek cuisine, Taverna Kima is the place to go. 6298 North Federal Highway in Boca Raton. It's been around for nearly 2 decades. Every day is a feast with grilled lamb and fish, house-made spinach pie and moussaka, gyros, traditional dips, mezes, with soft, warm pita. It's open 7 days for lunch and dinner with happy hour daily from 3 to 6 p.m., indoor, outdoor, private dining. So celebrate life at Taverna Kima. For reservations and information, go to tavernakima.com. When I get a craving for real Southern barbecue, Fat Boy's Barbecue is the place that I call home. Cooked low and slow with proper smoke and dry rub goodness, Fat Boy's has some of the best ribs, brisket, burnt ends, pulled pork, and chicken around. 5 delectable sauces and the tastiest collard greens, candied yams, and cornbread this side of heaven. 4 locations, including Deerfield, Coral Springs, Cypress Creek Road, and their newest location in downtown Fort Lauderdale, 706 South Federal Highway. Open 7 days with great lunch specials, online ordering, delivery, catering, and food trucks for your next event. To order, go to fatboysbarbecue.com today. That's Fat Boys with a Z, as in a fresh local fish, a sophisticated setting. I'm talking about Corvina Seafood Grill. It's at 110 Plaza Real South in Boca Raton, just south of Palmetto Park Road. It's the place to go for the freshest and local seafood and fish, some of it with a Peruvian twist like their great ceviches. It's open 7 days for dinner. They also have happy hour 7 days a week. You don't want to miss it. It's a great place. CorvinaBocaRaton.com for more information and reservations. Tell them the lunch. All right, we're back here on the Lunchbox, and I see we have on the chat line Eric Brandon, longtime host of the what's it called, the Weekly Fisherman? I know
The Nautical Ventures.
Nautical Ventures. Oh, okay. But
it was the lead into the trivia challenge for years. We love Eric Brandon, the Brandon.
Oh, cool. And I guess I saw this story, a piece in the New York Times that I forwarded to a couple of friends in the business this morning, just showing how we're doing this streaming thing. We're all longtime veteran. I'm a veteran newspaper journalist, obviously Defo, legendary radio broadcast voice, and Lubie, you've been around now for over a decade, so we could call you a seasoned vet as well. But how in this new era, it's not all about all the traditional means are blown up. Newspapers have shrunk to nothing. Radio, they're taking AM radios out of cars soon. But all these, voices and experienced people who still have knowledge and talent are gravitating to different platforms. And the story was about how Joy Reid, got dumped by MSNBC, but now she's on, this new platform. She's streaming her own stuff. She's on this Substack as a place for people to write things. Jim Acosta and Don Lemon, they got dumped by CNN. Now they're doing things. They're going straight to the people through streaming platforms like this. And, we are able to do things in a non-traditional manner, but technology now, and it says that people seem to be gravitating towards things that are less produced and less slick, and you don't need a studio and you don't need pancake makeup. All you need is basically a reasonable computer that has a camera and these streaming services now. And look at us. We have a business venture going. Do we bring anything of value to the world?
I don't know.
I'll leave that for others to decide.
Look, I like Diva. I will always like you with papers, right? You guys still read papers. I love the idea of papers, but don't really read them anymore. And I love the idea of radio, and I still listen. So I will never cast aspersions. We were in the new iHeart digs when we saw Castronovo, and it was interesting. It was different, and I'll never. This weekend saw a lot of radio people out and about. When I went to the event Friday. My buddy Mac, who's doing Sirius now, was a longtime radio guy, and I guess that's still radio in a sense. So a lot of that, I heard people were there, and I'm happy for the people that are there. And I've been talking to a lot of people that have moved on, and it's just funny, like I appreciate it for where we are now. It's just a different world. It got to the place where you got punished for being original, and which makes no sense. All the people that hit it the biggest in the world of radio, even today, are the original. So it's such a weird idea that uniformity is what they're looking for when uniformity doesn't work. So that's social media's gotten that way. Like my wife and my sister-in-law are big on like emulating other trends, and that's cool because it works, right? So why not do it? I've been around Defo too long. I get the ick whenever it's like, well, they're doing it that way, you should too. I hear program director and I want to run, like it just weirds me out to try and follow suit. And that's why I like what we do. I know it's different, and we're not giving the little images for Instagram, and over the years we'll figure it out there too. But to me, originality is key. Being different is good, and I think it should be celebrated. And that's why I like podcasts, because as much as TikTok makes people copy each other, it feels like podcasts don't. It feels like podcasts, there's millions of them, but they're all a little different in their own little way. And I actually appreciate the heck out of that, and I am grateful for that. I'm grateful for the new mediums are actually, see, screw TV and radio. We're going to celebrate different, and I appreciate it. And I like what we do for that reason.
It's a double-edged sword. You're getting rid of the gatekeepers and the managers and the program directors that in some cases don't know anything about anything. And it's letting people just kind of find their own way. And you can be original. You can totally go in a different direction, try to carve out a niche that isn't taken yet. And I still like doing this long format where you sit down with a chef and you could talk to him for a long time and find out some interesting info. Is everybody going to stick with it for the full hour or an hour and 20 minutes? No, but if they want to dive in and out, and am I going to cut it up and put 10-second bits on TikTok? No, that's your job, Lubie. But Defo, how do you feel? Because it's been a while. I've been 5 years since I cut the cord from the Sun Sentinel, and I don't look back at all. I think it's been a great 5 years for me. I've had a good time not having to sit in any meetings and not having to listen to any bosses. It's fantastic.
It's a good way to go if you can make it work. Look, you always have to evolve. Everybody was saying radio was dead for the last 15 years. I was in radio with Lubie. So eventually, I guess you could say they finally squeezed the creative life out of it. It was very unfortunate. It's a great medium. My favorite of all the different things I've done, newspaper, TV, radio, and even this podcasting and video streaming. Radio was great. I really enjoyed it. It's a shame what happened there, but you have to move on. Well, what's good about this? You are one step away from cracking it. I tell Louis this all the time, and yet you have one foot in the grave a lot of the time. So if you can find a way to sustain yourself doing it and make some money, the trick is to be able to monetize it and have something of value. Fortunately, in the case of this show, you had the Let's Eat South Florida thing with 200,000 subscribers. That makes it a little bit easier to get something going as opposed to the average guy that's just throwing stuff out there in the cyberspace and hoping to get a few clicks. So it's a lot of gamesmanship involved in a thing. You have to get lucky. And if you come up with the right product, you can do even better and work less and have a better time, like you said, with no supervision or people telling you what to do or when to do it or where to go or what your subject matter should be. Although I am dealing with a little battle with that in another forum that I'm in right now.
Okay.
Where somebody came on board and all of a sudden is micromanaging the thing. People that have been in the business for 50 years just got out of high school and, doing their first announcing job. That gets annoying. But, in general, look, it's wide open. More people are involved. People like different things now than they used to. And if you look at some of the stuff that's super successful, you ask yourself, how did that happen? But think about it. I mean, David Portnoy goes on and eats one slice of pizza, tells somebody that it's got a 9.0 and it's better than getting a Michelin star.
Right. I mean, it's a whole new world. And that, what's his name? Keith Lee, who, look, God bless him. I respect the fact that he's built himself into this food influencer. I don't have much respect for his knowledge of food, but I do have much respect for the way that he has built an audience and made himself into a massive force. But there's enough room for everybody in the internet world. And it's just a matter of being true to yourself and pursuing your passion. And if you find something that you're passionate about, whether it be sports or food or horse racing and all that stuff. We haven't talked about the Derby yet, Defocus. I haven't seen you all week so far, but did you have it? Did you do anything successfully on Saturday? A
I
big
was
day
not
at West-
wagering on Saturday. I was out there for a little while on
Good.
Friday. I don't think that this was something I saw somewhere that you said nobody had the winner.
1 out of
Tappan Street.
37,
Yeah.
and it was basically a 3-1 shot. So I'm shocked that Tappan Street didn't get much play in the
Yeah, there were
contest.
other horses to consider besides
Yeah.
Sovereignty, who ran a good race. Sovereignty seemed to have some problems during the course of the race. Might have been a little bit of a trouble trip at the outside post, which is never advantageous, although
Yeah.
Tappan Street was only one post inside. But I thought there were 3 or 4 horses you could have made a good case for.
Yep.
It
No,
was no surprise the way the race was run. It was a very fast pace, and the closers came on and
yeah,
threw
Mataket
away
Street.
easily. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's great. The Kentucky Derby appears to be somewhat wide open, although Sandman in the Arkansas Derby has been super impressive. A lot of my friends liked that horse going in, thought it would pay a bigger price, and might have stamped himself as the one to beat in the Kentucky Derby. Although I think it's as wide open as it's ever been, which is kind of cool.
No, it's going to be. I love watching all these prep races. This week we got the Wood Memorial and my horse Grande. I love Grande. I think this is the Pletcher's top dog. We'll see if he runs a good one in New York this week. And the Bluegrass Stakes up at Keeneland, which is opening on Friday. That's one of my favorite days. The opening of the spring meet at Keeneland. I'm a big horse player fan. And look, the Sovereignty looks like a really good horse, and he had a new jockey. Manny Franco replaced the injured Junior Alvarado, and he lost the race going into the first turn. He went about 4 or 5 wide, which you can't do. He broke from post position 10, and the reason why Tappan Street won, and his jock, I believe, I forgot who was on for Brad Cox, but his jock went to the inside and saved ground, and Sovereignty got caught 4 or 5 wide into that first turn. Sovereignty, I think, is a major contender for the Kentucky Derby. He's going to have late kick, but he just wasn't good enough on Saturday. Now, the thing I feel good about, and maybe I'm a chalk eater, but I did throw out the Pletcher horse. I know Pletcher has won the Florida Derby like 4 out of the last 5 years and many times before that, but I just didn't like this horse that was in this week, Disruptor. I wasn't impressed by his first race. So that was my thing. I said, he's not winning. And I ran into Mark Goldberg. I had Saturday brunch at Grandpa's, and Goldberg was there, not Freed, but Goldberg is also a horse player. And he was asking me, he goes, who's going to win? I said, it's tough. I said I would just box 3 horses, the 8, 9, and 10. Now, I did not foresee the 8 was it Mataket Road? It was the Baffert Speedball, and he went way too fast. And I thought Mike Smith was smarter than that. But sometimes even the most seasoned jocks get caught up in speed duels and got burnt up. But I said the 8, 9, which was the winner, Tappan Street, and 10, Sovereignty, who ended up finishing second. Now, if you did a 3-horse box of those for every $1 multiple, $6, you got back a total of $7.20. Not much of a return on your investment, but it's better than losing. So I had a $10 exacta box, 8, 9, and 10. I put 60 in. I got 71 back, and I went on my merry way and had enough bullets to play the Saturday races at Oaklawn Park, and then other things. I hit one there, whatever. And then I gave it all back on Sunday, so it doesn't matter anyway. But it was a good edition of the Florida Derby, and the champion meet is now over. But we're not done with Gulfstream yet, because we are there every Friday, and we're going to be having our brunch bash this Sunday. So if you guys, anybody out there in the audience wants to come join us, you can. And for a special discounted rate, it's a great event. We're going to be there starting about noon. The first race starts at 1 o'clock at Gulfstream. There'll also be simulcasting from Kentucky at the Great Keeneland and Aqueduct. And they have an all-day brunch buffet with some great food items. Joe Beja takes great care of us. We'll have nice tables right overlooking the finish line at Gulfstream Park for their live racing on Sunday. $44 per person, plus tax and gratuity. If you want to come, just email the number of people in your party to me at mikemayoeats@gmail.com. We've got a nice crowd shaping up, a bunch of contest winners, a bunch of others who are going to be also joining us, paying their own way. And I'm going to be there. Lubie's going to be there. Tony Segreto is going to be there. Going to be a lot of fun. So come out and join us. Again, MikeMayoEats@gmail.com if you want to join us this Sunday, April 6th, from noon till whenever I run out of money. That's it. All right, we do have one more break, and then we'll wrap up this edition at home on the Lunchbox after these words. When people ask me about the best restaurants in South Florida, Casa D'Angelo is always at the top of my list. First class dining, top flight service, elegant atmosphere, and chef founder Angelo Ilia is legendary. The flagship in Fort Lauderdale has been serving the finest Italian cuisine since 1997, with other locations in Boca Raton and Aventura. As Angelo himself says, they have an unwavering commitment to unparalleled quality with meticulous attention to details. It's so good, with house-made pastas, pristine seafood, unique meats like elk chops and bison, and seasonal specialties including fragrant fresh truffles from Italy. All locations open 7 days for dinner. Reservations recommended. For a special occasion or any occasion, Casa D'Angelo. Tell them Mike Mayo sent you. Delicious Mexican food with innovative twists. Margaritas with a medley of tongue-tingling flavors. I'm talking about Taco Craft, Taqueria, and Tequila Bar. The place to go on Taco Tuesday and every day. It's located at 510 North Federal and Highway in Fort Lauderdale, and also in Lauderdale by the Sea at Plantation Walk and Coral Springs. Taco Craft has specials every day, including bottomless drinks for a Sunday brunch and Taco Tuesdays with their $4 premium tacos, including their new burrito tacos with bone marrow broth. Oh, it's so good. They've even made a taco lover out of me, and they've got so much more, including fajitas, that open-faced smashed cheeseburger tortilla that's new, and a guacamole sample that's an explosion of flavors. The kitchen is open late. There's delivery and takeout. For more information, go to tacocraft.com. Tell them Mike Mayo, the Lunchbox, sent you. Hey, it's Mayo for Gilbert's 17th Street Grill. You know me, I love family-run places with quality food at fair prices served with passion and pride. And that's why I love Gilbert's. For more than a decade, Lenore, Beth, and Richie Gilbert have been serving up the best burgers, wings, ribs, salads, and desserts. It's a fast casual spot. Everything prepared fresh to order from an immaculate open kitchen. They're at 1821 Cordova Road in Fort Lauderdale in the Cordova Shops just south of 17th Street. Open every day but Sunday. One of my favorite burgers in South Florida. Big, round, juicy pucks of 100% Angus beef, char grilled to perfection. And don't miss the sweet potato fries on the side. They're legendary. Go to Gilbert's, feast, and be happy. Tell them the lunch. Southern comfort food from a scratch kitchen. Delicious drinks and house-made spirits from a craft bar. A great vibe inside and out with a spacious patio. I'm talking about Batch New Southern Kitchen and Tap, Fort Lauderdale, in the heart of the city at 525 North Federal Highway. It's open 7 days for lunch, dinner, and weekend brunch with classics like fried chicken and waffles and shrimp and grits, and creative items like pecan-crusted salmon and a fried green tomato BLT. And the drinks? Smooth sipping and so good. There's convenient free parking and a garage next door, happy hour at the bar, an entire patio, 4 to 7 Monday to Friday, and live music every Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. It's pet and people friendly and with cozy fire pits for when the temperature dips. For reservations and more information, go to batchsouthernkitchen.com. If you like seafood in a comfortable setting, outdoors, even keel fish shack at the corner of A1A and Commercial Boulevard in Lauderdale by the Sea, and also now with a new location on Las Olas Boulevard. Those are my spots. Upscale food in a down-home setting. The chef owners, Dave and Brad, do a terrific job with all the seafood classics that you want. They have the best grilled oysters in town, bang bang shrimp, lobster rolls, and deli fish specials. They also have weekend brunch Saturday and Sunday. They have deli happy hour 4 to 7, and they also have other weekly specials like mussels on Monday and oysters on Tuesday. Go to Even Keel Fish Shack and tell them that the Lunchbox sent you. If you want great Italian food in a beautiful beachfront setting, have I got the place for you. Casa Calabria at the Ocean Manor Resort, 4040 Galt Ocean Drive in Fort Lauderdale. Highly rated across all the restaurant review platforms and totally Mike Mayo's Lunchbox approved. Delicious, authentic Southern Italian food in a cozy dining room overlooking the Atlantic. Live music in the lounge, full bar, and a great wine list. Owner Frank Talrico takes great pride in his family recipes from his native Calabria. Fresh fish and seafood, veal, house-made pastas, and marinara sauce as smooth as silk. You got to try the imported meats and cheeses on the antipasto platters, and don't miss that ricotta gnocchi, fluffy little pillows straight from heaven. Casa Calabria, open for dinner Tuesday through Sunday, closed on Mondays. Tell them. All right, we're back. We're back on the lunchbox, and Brandon's right. We do have a lot of spots. I guess that's a good thing, but
I deserve it.
never apologize. Hey, I just was scrolling Facebook and I saw old friend Jeff Cohen, who used to have the pizza loft. He just
Oh,
posted.
pizza. Oh, he's like
Remember Pizza Loft on University Drive? It used to be down in Miami. Neil Rogers was a fan. Did you hang out there much or go there at all, Defo?
Many times I ate at the Pizza Loft. Yes.
Well, this time of year, he always would make for Passover for those Jewish clients the matzah pizza. Did you ever taste the matzah pizza there?
I was a big fan of his tortellini dishes.
Hmm.
I don't know about the matzah pizza, and I would not be inclined to have one, to tell you the truth.
I actually had it one time when I was the food critic, and he was still going. And you know what? It's better than the jellied gefilte fish on a piece of matzah, I think. But that's it. Yeah, before you know it, Passover will be here a week from Saturday on April 12th. So, yeah, I miss Pizza Loft and Jeff and his little pinky pinky nail and all that. I don't know what he used that for, but those were the days. Right? All right, tomorrow we're going to be at Gilbert's 17th Street Grill. It's burger time, and maybe I'll have some fish and wings to try to stay on the healthier side. I love those grilled wings that Lenore has at Gilbert's 17th Street Grill in Fort Lauderdale, right there off Cordova Road and 17th Street. Come on by. We'll be there the usual time, 1 o'clock. We'd love to see you out there. Until then, for Defo, Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubie Lubitz, I'm Mike Mayo. Remember to enjoy every